Good afternoon. Today is the 7th of May, and we haven't talked about a television series in some time. So, although this isn't a particularly old one, it's mainly set in 1973, so I think it probably qualifies. Let's look at the British version of Life on Mars. Life on Mars was broadcast from 2006 to 2007 and starred John Simm, Philip Glenister, Liz White, Marshall Lancaster, and Dean Andrews. The basic plot of Life on Mars is that Sam Tyler, who is a detective with the Greater Manchester Police in the mid-2000s, is knocked over by a car and somehow wakes up from the impact in 1973. His whole raison d'etre is then to work out what's happened to him and how he's supposed to get back to contemporary times. He pretends that he is from another part of Manchester and has been transferred to the division where his boss, Gene Hunt, played by Philip Glenister, is working, so that his slight disorientation with what's going on accurately reflects his kind of, general unfamiliarity with being in 1973. We don't really get a satisfactory conclusion to Life on Mars after the end of the second series. The whole story arc is tied up a lot more neatly in Ashes to Ashes, which comes later, but it's a very good series. It's one of the last things I remember watching as it was broadcast on live television on BBC One in 2006 and 2007. The most iconic car used in Life on Mars is a 1974 Ford Cortina 2000E, which has the grille and headlights from the 1972 Cortina 2000 GXL. The fake plate used is KJM 212K, and it's mainly driven by Gene Hunt, Philip Glenister, in a very aggressive way, in reminiscent to the Sweeney, and actually it's a similar colour to the car used in the Sweeney, the main console NHK 295M, although it's not exactly the same. The two cars that Sam Tyler drives in the 2000s are a 1999 Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited and very rare, a Rover 75 2.5 V6 Contemporary SE, which has a Birmingham fleet plate on it. And so we believe this is one of the last MG Rover press cars. It's registered March 2005, so just about a month before they went under. Which is BX05KCJ. I'd love to actually get hold of one of those. It'd be lovely. So he obviously got taste, and when he wakes up in 1973, he's still got a Rover, but it's a 1972 P6, a 3500 V8 SHK 949K, although you don't see him drive it very much, which is a bit of a shame. Other cars that Sam Tyler uses are another P6, but a 71, a 3500 V8 SDX 119J in a second series episode, and in the second episode of the first series, he's got an Austin A60 Cambridge 62 model that appears very briefly. Other cars that I find interesting in Life on Mars, there are a couple that don't have the right plates for their model year. So in one episode, there's a 1965 Ford Zephyr 6 that's clearly got a C plate etched into the side of the window, but has a 69G plate on it. There's also a couple of Austin Allegro Panda cars that are used. One's a Series 3 that would date from, earliest 1979. And there's also a Series 2, which is a 76 Allegro, which real plate is PFV 525P, but has a 1972 or 3 plate on it, an L-Reg. So it doesn't quite kind of work. And there are other inconsistencies in Life on Mars as well, just for cars. And my favourite one of all is there's a Triumph Toledo that appears in the second episode, which didn't come out till 71 with the four-door, but has a 1968 plate on it, SHN 657F. If that was supposed to be a Triumph 1300, then that we'd get away with that. But for somebody like me and other people who are watching, that's not really good enough. Other interesting cars in Life on Mars are a 1973 Alfa Romeo Giulia Super HON 46L, that's in the second episode. A 1972 Ford Capri 2000 GT, that's UDF 681J. That's in a second series episode. A 1973 Lotus Elan Sprint. Can't see the plate on that one. The car that actually knocks Sam Tyler down is a MkII Cavalier, which is an 87 model. Now, you would have thought that they'd write that off and when the stunt it would have been broken, but actually that car's still around, which is amazing. And the owner apparently is aware of its history on television. That's E599SRJ. There's a couple of other interesting cars that I've seen in on the chase. There's a Rover 2000 66 HRX 395D, which hits a Vauxhall Viva HC at one point, and they've probably both been written off by now. There's also a 1972 Hillman Avenger Estate HLG 118K that gets blown up. There's a nice Hillman Super Minx with some very pretty wheels on it in one episode. Apparently that's a late 66 model, actually in a 67, it's got a new plate on it. And there's also a 1972 Triumph GT6 Mark III, which is SRT 624L. Overall, Life on Mars has some quite interesting cars in it, although if you look through the sort of pages on the internet, the information about them, there's not as much as you'd imagine there to be. Ashes to Ashes is a far greater selection of cars, but that could possibly be because that ran for 3 series rather than 2. So we'll look at Ashes to Ashes in a future episode. I hope you found that video interesting. Don't forget to leave a comment below to subscribe to the channel if you'd like to do that. It very much helps. And click the bell icon if you should be notified of new videos. And don't forget to like this one too if it appealed to you. If you wish me to source a car for you, it doesn't have to be anything on the list, although I'd love to source Row 75 for someone, including myself. Then do get in touch via my website. It's www.lloydvehicleconsulting.co.uk. And use the contact me page on the top right hand side to click on the homepage to get in touch using the contact form there. My Facebook page is facebook.com/Lloyd Vehicle Consulting. Thank you ever so much indeed for watching.